got such good character to it. Jason does a phenomenal job of So, I've got a pretty decent whiskey collection. Now, I'm not saying it's as big as some folks here in Kentucky, but I've got a few bottles worth showing off. Before I go adding more to the shelf, I need to finish off some of the ones I already have. You know, my friend and Bourbon Hall of Famer, Freddie Johnson, always says bourbon is more than just a drink. It's about the stories we create while sharing it with others. Each episode of Last Pour is my way of honoring that idea by sharing the stories behind the bottles as I enjoy their very last pour. And today's guest of honor is a very special bottle to me. This is a bottle of Buzzard's Roost sipping whiskeys. What's so special about this bottle to me is if you look here, and if you can see, I don't know if I can, it is batch number 1. So I got this bottle, also it is signed by Jason Brauner, my buddy Jason, that owns Buzzard Roost. I got this bottle whenever he first started Buzzard Roost. He had an event where he was just releasing the brand, and I got this bottle at that event, and I have just one pour left. So this bottle is pretty special to me. If you don't know Jason, he is also the owner of Bourbon's Bistro in Louisville, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first bourbon-themed restaurant or bar in Kentucky, I'm pretty sure, but in America it might be. I'll have to double check that. But Bourbon's Bistro is a pretty special place. He owned that he still owns it, but he started Buzzard Roost. I guess this was probably 2018-ish, 2019 maybe. I can't remember exactly when. But this is a pretty delicious whiskey, so let's go ahead and dive in. All I have left. On the nose, this has got a pretty complex, spicy nose to it. Of course, this is a straight rye whiskey. This one is a rye whiskey. The thing about, one of the things that Jason does with his barrels, and I'm pretty sure he was one of the first people that I heard kind of talk in depth about this, but he uses not only charred barrels, but he uses a lot of toasted barrels. And he was the first person, I think, that I really kind of heard talk about why they use toasted barrels, and it has just a lot of complexity to it. So if, just the charred part of the barrel gives you the color and it gives you some of the flavor, but the toasting is what pulls out some of those vanillas and cinnamons. And so that's why he chose to use some toasted barrels. So right on the nose, it's a lot of, I use this a lot, but baking spices, caramel, vanilla, you get some toasted oak, like maybe almost like a burnt marshmallow kind of thing. As I mentioned, I got this bottle when Jason first released Buzzard Roost. The cool story about Jason is I met Jason around 2015. My buddy Steve Akeley and I were just starting out making bourbon-related films, and I was living in Tennessee at the time. I wasn't living in Kentucky, and so Steve and I would come up to Kentucky to film for weekends at a time, sometimes, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there were times we stayed in hotels, but most of the time we couldn't afford to stay in hotels, for that extended periods of time. So Jason Brauner would usually let us stay in the top room of Bourbon's Bistro. It's literally, at the time, it was just a room with 2 couches. And so Steve and I would sleep on the couches, get up, go film what we needed to film, come back, hang out with Jason. That's how I met him. That's how I've kind of grown to become friends with Jason. But then over the years, he is really an ambassador for bourbon, and he should be eventually in the Bourbon Hall of Fame because of what he's done for the bourbon industry. Not only opening up Bourbon's Bistro, it's a bourbon-themed bar, but like I said, starting this brand, and he started it just as a brand, but now he has a location on Whiskey Row in Louisville. So if you're ever in Louisville, check it out. Buzzard Roost has its own physical building. They produce their own stuff there, so check them out. But here's to Jason. Here's to the adventures that Steve and I used to have. We still have them, but not as much as we used to. But here's to Jason, to Steve and I's adventures. Here's to Buzzard Roost, new brands, new ventures, and to great whiskey. That's it for Last Pour. Whether it's your first favorite or your latest discovery, make sure you enjoy it while it lasts. See you next time.